Welcome to the Leasing Highway, a podcast focused on the heartbeat of the apartment industry. And we're presented by the Apartment Association of Metro Denver this season, which is getting to bring back their infamous chili cook-off, which is this Saturday, October 9th. So if you're not signed up and you feel like eating a bunch of chili, it's a fun event. So ping the Apartment Association of Metro Denver to get your tickets for that. I am Karen Gladney, one of your hosts for the Leasing Highway.
And I'm Ian Andrews, your other host. And today we're excited to be joined by Jason Wine, who's the Director of Acquisitions for Avanti Residential. So super excited to have you, Jason. I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background story.
Sure. Jason Wine, Director, as you mentioned, Director of Acquisitions for Avanti Residential, formerly Capital Real Estate. I've been with the company since 2013, I think is when I joined. We were just a tiny little operation back then. It was just really three of us in the office and owned a couple thousand units, maybe 2,500 or so. And Doug Andrews brought me on to grow the company to 5,000 units. I had worked with Doug over at Apartment Realty Advisors in the brokerage world. Some of you that have been in the industry long enough probably have gone through a sale with Apartment Realty Advisors, and perhaps we may even have worked together. But came over to Capital Real Estate and started trying to buy buildings with Doug, and he only wanted to take it to 5,000 units. So I thought I was basically buying my way out of a job, which was fine. With the experience, I thought I'd move on to somewhere else. And we got to 5,000 units, and he just kept saying, go find another one. And 5,500, he kept saying, go find another one. And I started to wonder what was going on. And then one day he came to me and said, I've been thinking about it. I want to take this company to 55,000 units and bring management in-house and really turn this into something real. So we've been on a real tear ever since. We're up to close to 7,500 units and have 5 deals under contract right now, and have expanded the groups that we get equity from into the institutional partners, and it's really taken off. So it's been an exciting ride.
That's awesome. Well, at least you're not selling yourself out of a job right now.
Yeah, it's better.
You got a roadmap ahead. Exactly. Well, that's good. So I had mentioned to you when we were in the waiting room, green room, if you will, before getting on here, that several people had pinged me, and they were just real excited to hear from the acquisition side of our industry. You're a whole different bubble within the apartment industry, and just would love to hear what is a day in the life like for you as Director of Acquisitions?
I would say it's about 50% solving problems and 50% creating problems. You're solving problems by trying to look out there what's on the market and find properties that'll fit for your company and your operations team and your equity partners. You've got to things come up during the contract. You've got to solve issues with the seller, and if you find things during due diligence, you have to solve those problems. But you got to create the problems too. You have to really question your own assumptions, get properties under contract. That's a problem in of itself that you've got to start solving. You got to challenge your own assumptions a lot, and getting deals closed and across the finish line. So it's just problems. That's all it is.
Well, and you're nationwide. This isn't just a local operation you're running here, Jason. How do you even find the properties? Do you have? I picture you in a back room with a wizard's cap and a wand, like figuring out through a big macro spreadsheet what property you're going to buy. How do you figure it out?
In terms of markets, when I started with then Capital Real Estate, we were only in Colorado, Denver, and I think we had a deal up in Fort Collins and some down in Colorado Springs. They brought me on really to expand down into Phoenix. And since then, we're expanding into Salt Lake City, or we've got one deal in Salt Lake City. We're buying quite a few in Kansas City and also going into South Florida. Right now, we're looking at Nashville and the Charlotte, Raleigh markets as well. Finding deals, that's actually kind of the easy part. They come to you. Brokers, the sellers typically hire brokers, and it just shows up in my inbox. Hey, this is on the market. It's for sale. That's the easy part. But turning that email into a closing of a property that we now have in our portfolio is the challenge.
Absolutely. I think, well, first, I've obviously known you for a long time, Jason, with you working with Doug Andrews being my father. And, it's been fun for me being on the sidelines and actually being able to watch you guys grow from, what you were back in 2013 and just an idea and buying one, a property, and then this aspiration to get to this 5,000 units and to the 55,000 goal today, and just seeing how things have changed. I'm curious from your side, what has it been like being in your role and being a part of an organization that was a couple of people in a room to now hundreds of employees and management and a pretty dramatic increase in people and organization size over the last few years.
It's insane. It's difficult to describe. For several years there, when we were looking at the 5,000 goal, it was really a low stress, just kind of having fun. We weren't really putting pressure on ourselves. It was just sort of go out and see what you can do. When your father put out the 55,000 unit goal, it changed a little bit. I didn't know quite what that was going to look like. And he really sort of ran the initial steps. I just kept doing what I was doing. We brought on a new CEO, Chris Garner, and he just has a tremendous background. He used to work for GE and lots of other institutional groups. And he has pushed us to up our game tremendously. And it's a little bizarre having gone from kind of a mom and pop shop to it's a real company now. And it's to have been there along that ride has been incredible. I think the thing you probably know, Ian, your dad is really big every year on doing a retreat with all the senior leadership. And that retreat used to be just a small handful of us in a room, kind of hanging out and talking about what we were doing. We didn't have one last year because of the pandemic, but the year before, I wasn't able to spend much time in the retreat because we were coming up on the due diligence deadline for a property we were buying, and I really had to focus on that. So I was kind of working on my own up at the ranch where we were on the retreat. And I went down into the room because I needed to grab somebody out of there to help me. And I opened the door, and there's this massive table with what felt like 100 people in the room. And I just was like, oh my, because we don't always, the operations people are out, you don't necessarily realize how big the company's getting because everybody's out on site. And I just looked in that room and thought, my goodness, where did all these people come from? It was a really cool, I was just completely taken aback.
That's such a neat experience and neat to have witnessed, like Ian said, for you from the beginning to now is so special.
It is really cool.
And two, when you love the people you're working around and you have that core group and just getting to see visions come to fruition, right? I mean, that's good for all of us to witness and be a part of.
It's that, and it's also having the opportunity when you start out with a smaller organization that's growing rapidly, you get the opportunity to really help shape and influence the culture of the company. Mm-hmm. And that has been just one of my absolute favorite parts of it. Culture is really important to us over here. We want all the team members to know how valued they are, and just we have high expectations for performance, but we also reward that and seek people that are just excel at everything they do in life. So it's been fun.
That's probably a big reason for your success and continued growth too. When a company has a strong culture, that just seeps through everything and drives everybody. And when people do feel appreciated, right, they're going to excel.
Yeah, it's neat. It really is, from the CEO all the way through the entire organization. Everybody is, generally speaking, excited to be here every day.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I'd love to hear some. I hear that there's stories out there about bidding wars, off-market deals, just all the fascinating things that are happening with buying. So any insights and cool stories you can share when we come back on the other side, that'll be great. So we'll hear from Jason when we get back.
Welcome to your beautiful new apartment home here at Gables Point 14. As you can see, we're featuring this beautiful one-bedroom den.
Meet Drew. She's a photographer living in Chicago and is currently looking for a new apartment. She's found a few places she likes, but isn't sure which one is the best fit. That's when Drew discovered RentGrata. RentGrata allowed Drew to talk to Ashley, a resident of the building she was considering. After talking to Ashley, Drew knew it was the right place for her, so she decided to move in. Today, Drew found a new home and Ashley made some referral money. But with RentGrata, it doesn't stop there. When this conversation data is combined with AI machine learning intelligence, RentGrata can provide new insights that allow property managers to get a better sense of what renters want. And that means a better renter experience for all. Welcome your residents, reach them with RentGrata.
Great. We're back with Jason. And, as I said when we were going into break, there's all these stories out there, but I kind of feel like these stories are, that of you're at a happy hour and kind of like the game of telephone. Maybe they get a little exaggerated or who knows what gets brought to them. But what's it like being on the inside of off-market deals, bidding wars? What's that like?
It's stressful. There's really off-market deals are really uncommon these days. The market is so competitive that a seller would just be absolutely foolish to hand it off to one buyer at a price. I mean, it can still happen, but there's so much on the market. Off-market deals take a lot of time to dig up and find them, and there's plenty to do with the on-market deals. The bidding wars it's extremely competitive right now. The process is you put in an offer. Everybody knows it's not your real offer. What you're really trying to do is just get an offer in that's high enough that they invite you to what is called a best and final round. And that's where they try to sort the wheat from the chaff and really who are the serious buyers here. And they go back and say, in another week, we want your actual offer. And that's when you really start to sharpen your pencil and try to figure out ways to increase your price to as much as you possibly can. You're talking to the broker, where's everybody else at? What's this looking like? You're trying to talk to people, that may know the seller, or in some cases you're talking, I know the seller and I'm talking to them, hey, what's pricing looking like? And You're just trying to get any insight you can into how far you can push it and what it's going to take. And then you put that offer in, and these days they say, that's great, but now we need another offer. And so there's like 3 of you left, and one of you is whoever can push it up even higher is going to be the person who walks away from this. And at that point, 9 times out of 10, I'm past my pain threshold. We just can't go any further. And you walk away, you put your head down, you walk away. In some instances, you've with my little magician's hat and magic wand, I see something that makes me believe that yeah, the rents are going to go a little further. We can push this a little harder, and you tell yourself a story that makes you believe that the property's worth more, and hopefully other people believe it too.
Yeah, I think it's these days, or at least for the last few years, I feel like every deal that you end up coming away with, it seems really painful at the time, and then by the time you close, the market's gone up so much, you go, how did we get it for that price?
Yeah, that certainly happens sometimes. Other times, as you move forward on the contract, you just think, oh my gosh, we're paying way too much for this. But you keep those thoughts to yourself usually.
Yeah, of course.
I actually, the analogy I use is it reminds me a bit of what it was like out in the dating world. Back when I was single, you put a call into the broker and you say, hey, I can pay this much, and then you sit there and you wait, and you leave for a little bit to go take a shower or something. Did I hear the phone ring? Was that him? And should I call him? Is it too soon to call him right now? And you're just kind of on edge, and then he calls you up and says, no, you didn't get it. And that's when you feel like you just got dumped, or you said you got it, and you're like, yes.
That's an awesome
And that's what every day is like for Jason Wine. I love it.
Basically.
Well, on that note too, I mean, you've seen obviously a ton of transactions over the year, and curious, what are some of those biggest OMG moments on both the acquisition side of things and the takeover side? Because I know there's some crazy stories that I'm sure you have.
There's a few. The one that probably stands out the most. We had a property here in Denver that we had put under LOI, and we're going to be doing due diligence on. The due diligence was scheduled to start on March 16th of 2020, a date that many of you probably remember well. It was the Monday where the world started to collapse. And that was the amount of stress that was associated with everything. The whole world was changing. The property had retail components, office components, and it also had some bond components that were paid by the city of Denver. And I was just sitting there. I asked our attorney, I said, on these bonds, are we guaranteed to get this money from the Denver? She said, well, only if the city has the money. Normally you think, well, of course it's a city, they'll be fine. But with what was happening with the shutdown, I'm like, retail sales taxes are I don't know the creditworthiness of the city of Denver right now. Oh my gosh, what world are we living in? There were some others, we did some recapitalizations where you basically are buying the property from yourself with a new equity partner. And those are a challenge because you're selling the property and you're buying it at the same time. And when you get to the closing table, it's really 2 closings, a sale and a purchase. We had 2 instances where we had 4 of those in one day. So it was 8 closings in one day. And because of the finance markets and things like that, you have to really have them closed by 1 in the afternoon Mountain Time. Those are stressful mornings, to say the least. We had another deal that the seller needed to sell it by the end of the year. This was the end of 2020. And They absolutely had to get it closed by the end of the year. And I was actually up in Breckenridge working from the lodge up there in the business center, and everything was going smooth. It was December 31st. That morning, everything looked great. I thought, this thing's baked. I can go out and go do a little skiing. And I hadn't even finished my first run when one of the partners in the deal called me up and said, we have a huge problem. And I went running back into the lodge, and sure enough, it was a massive issue that we caused a lot of heartburn, but I think we got that deal closed at 4:30 Central Time, where the property was located, on December 31st. It was, and I didn't get to ski at all that day.
I just picturing you running with ski boots there.
Oh, yeah. I was in the business center. I didn't even change out my ski boots. I was sitting there in my business, like with ski boots on and everything. It was no time to rest.
Oh,
that would have been a good photo op for sure. And also the epitome of the definition that you started with earlier of you have problems and you cause problems and there's stress. So sounds great. Everybody get into acquisitions. Jason, who are some of the people, and I feel like we could guess some of them, but some of the biggest inspirations for you throughout your career?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Ian's dad, Doug, has been a huge mentor in my life. His old business partner, Jeff Hawks, who folks that have been going to AAMD or the real estate, Colorado Real Estate Journal conferences. He's was a big speaker there for everyone. Everyone loved to hear him talk. He was a big inspiration, but really, it's across the board. I mean, nobody's flawless. And everybody has some inspiration and mentorship to offer you. And I just get it from whomever I can and whenever I can. And I went fly fishing with Ian once, and he's a darn good fly fisherman. He was an inspiration to me. But yeah, it's you take it where you can get it, for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's take one more quick break here, and then on the other side, let's dive in a little bit more into other things you like to do on your spare time and bucket list items, and we'll get to that. So, quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So yeah, what I mean, obviously we know skiing and the occasional fly fishing trip here. What are some of those other things that you do on your free time, Jason?
I was gonna say elusive free time.
Yeah, exactly.
Skiing, fly fishing, that's it. No, I have two daughters, 11 and 8, that are just, I mean, that is the focus of my life in free time. I just absolutely adore them, and every minute I get to spend with them, I love it. The real key there is getting them to do the outdoor activities that I love to do. So teaching them to fly fish and ski has been very important. But yeah, we just, as a family, we love being out in the mountains, hiking, backpacking. Anytime I'm up there, it's just, I'm in my happy place for sure.
That's really neat. We're lucky here in Colorado to have such a happy place in our backyard, right?
Yeah, although check out Salt Lake City, because it's like Denver, only everything's shrunk down and much closer together, and the mountains are 10 minutes from downtown, if even that. I mean, 5 minutes. It's really cool.
That is very true, and I love hearing everybody talk about their families. That's so special. And 11 and 8, those are such special. I mean, all ages are special, but each one has a different.
We're in the sweet spot between, both of them are old enough that they can go do fun things, but neither of them are a teenager yet. So
Right, they're not where they want to give you the hand.
I still think I'm the coolest guy in the world.
That's fabulous. What about any bucket list items for you, Jason, that you want to check off the list?
Yeah, I do. There is one. It's a little random, but a couple years back, you guys remember when the eclipse came over through North America? My family went up to Jackson Hole to experience that, the total eclipse, and it was really cool. Like we just loved it. And the idea dawned on me, there's 2 eclipses somewhere on the planet every year. And how cool would it be to just follow the shadow, go look at where the line is going across, South America, and be like, oh, it's going to be near that city. Let's go there and experience it. Instead of just pick your vacations by where the eclipse is going to be, it would be an amazing just experience seeing the world that way. I think that's how I'd like to do it.
For sure.
Yeah,
cool.
no, that's awesome. I love that. I just saw your photos too from the eclipse. They were incredible. So I look forward to a lot more photos from the shadows from you. Well, I want to actually throw in one other question here because we have a little bit of time. I know you had a huge part in actually coming up with the Avanti name, and wanted to give you a minute to give some background on where that comes from and how you helped come up with that.
Sure. Yeah, we were going through the process of trying to find a name, and there's just horrible options. People are emailing, what about this? What about that? And it just, nothing's clicking for me. I think the lead contender before we had Avanti was Foresight or something like. Do you remember, Ian? I think your dad probably told it to you.
Something, yeah, I don't remember, but it was something along our forest or something along those lines.
Or something. And I was. At night, I was in bed and I was reading this book. It's called The Colorado Companion. It's like a compendium of just random miscellaneous Colorado facts and things. It's kind of fun to read, and it was talking about the background of all the ski run names in Colorado, or some notable ones. And it talked about the ski run Avanti up at Vail. And it turns out that it is named after the phrase sempre avanti, which is Italian for always forward. And it was the battle cry of the 10th Mountain Division during World War II. And I looked at that and I thought, wow, that's cool. And then I kind of did some more research on it, and it turns out sempre avanti means always forward, but it also means always welcome and always ahead. And I thought, this is perfect. I mean, we're always moving forward as an organization. We're always welcoming our residents, and we're always ahead of our competition. So that's who we're going to be. And mentioned it to Doug, and he immediately said, "Yep, that's who we are."
That's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah. Sempre avanti.
Awesome. Well, yeah, for the final question, our home run, walk-off home run question, as we say, is what advice would you give someone just starting out in the industry?
This industry, I think it's just the coolest industry for folks. Especially if maybe you're not on the typical college career path, you're kind of searching around and trying to find an industry that you can excel in. If you work hard and achieve results, it is phenomenal how far, you can go from a leasing agent all the way up to a VP or a director, sitting on the board. It's amazing what is possible for people in this industry. You're never going to see a cashier at Walmart suddenly find themselves in advising, the Walmart CEO Doug McMillon, or a guy working at the Ford Michigan auto plant, suddenly in the boardroom at Ford Motor Company. It's just, that doesn't happen in our industry. It happens all the time.
Yeah, so true.
Such a good point, and good way to paint that picture too. It's the opportunity is endless and awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing industry for people. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. This has been amazing. Really appreciate you coming on and joining us here. And yeah, thanks for all your insight. And we'll talk to everyone next week.
Yeah, cool stories. Thanks so much, Jason. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day.